When we talk about tarology, we often talk about trauma and traumatic events which happen in our childhood and which still influence our life. In this video, we explore how the images, the archetypical images of tarot can help us in understand and transform traumatic events. I'm Valerio Verrea, this is Tarology Academy, where I support people in their process of self-realization and healing thanks to the archetypical power of traditional tarots. So, tarots and trauma. First of all, a disclaimer. Tarots are not an officially scientific recognized tool, therefore in case of psychological pathologies and medical problems, it's important to ask for professional medical support. Tarots and the knowledge I share is for personal development purpose, for spiritual purposes. It is not based on medical knowledge. That said, we all live traumas in our life. In our childhood, it happens something, sometimes bigger, sometimes smaller, but we all live something that from our childhood influence in a negative ways our life today. The psychology of Alexander Lowen explained how traumatic events in childhood can be memorized inside of our system and give consequences then years later at the physical, mental, and emotional level. And the problem about these traumatic events is that when we were children and we didn't have the tools to deal with situation, we lived something that was hurting us. And because of that, our personal system developed a memory of reaction. So we had an emotional reaction in that moment, and this reaction got memorized inside of ourselves. And nowadays that we are grown-up adults, we can live situations which are not dangerous, they are not as problematic as the one that we lived when we were a kid, but can still generate inside of ourselves those kind of very strong and painful emotions. And these are all the cases of anxiety, fears, excessive fear, anger, difficulties to manage anger, excessive jealousy, or also way of thinking, way of reasoning, which limit ourselves. Those way of thinking that make us believe that we cannot do something, which actually is something that we could really do and could really improve our life, but for some reason we don't do that because we believe we can't. All those things can come from some traumatic events in our childhood, and what we can do is to go there, understand it and transform it, because if we transform that, we have much more energy to develop in the direction of our self-realization. And how to do that? In order to heal a trauma, we need to understand where is and what is this trauma. And this is a bit tricky because this trauma lives in our subconscious. And we, with our consciousness, cannot directly grasp and understand our subconscious. And therefore, we need tools to go there in depth to see what is there and then to start to change it. This can be very tricky because our mind speaks a language which is the language of logic and words, and our subconscious speaks a different language, a language made of images, of metaphors, of emotion and experiences. And these two parts of ourselves don't really communicate with each other very well. We can see how long can be a therapy based on language and words can take years. But there are some tools which can help us in this process. Tarots is exactly one of these tools. And when I talk about tarots, I'm talking about traditional ancient tarots. And we need to make a difference here because we are used to think about tarots thinking and using modern tarots, Rider-Waite, Crowley, Thoth tarots, and so on and so forth. All these tarots are useless for this purpose. What I'm talking about are those very ancient tarots. We are talking about Marseille tarot, Besançon tarots, dating like a few hundred years ago. In their traditional or in the renovated version, keeping the old graphic and the old designs. This is very important because those tarots, those ancient tarots, has inside of themselves what the psychologist Carl Gustav Jung would call archetypical images. And archetypical images, following Jung's theories, are images which are able to connect ourselves to our subconscious and to the collective subconscious. In those images, we can see something that our subconscious part recognize is an image which can be understood directly by our subconscious, and our subconscious react to that. And that's very interesting, because in this way, these images can bring us in contact and can open doors inside of our subconscious part. And together with synchronicity, which is another principle coming from Jung, to which I will dedicate a specific video, we can have a map, archetypical map, to explore parts of ourselves, connect to part of ourselves, and facilitate the process of understanding the origin and the connection between the problem we have in our life and the trauma which is behind it. And that's great, because it can be very, very fast. In this way, we can accelerate a lot the process of awareness of the connection between the issue I face, and the origin of the issue in some traumatic event in my life. And this is the starting process to bring change and transformation. The next step is the step of reprogramming, so reprogramming the memory of the trauma, to which I will also dedicate a specific video, but the process is extremely important. And in this, recognizing this part, tarots, wow, can be really, really, really effective, traditional tarots. And in this way, we see how these little images, which they look like small painting, can be such an effective tool in our process of personal development. So, I hope that this video is useful for you. If you like it, click the like button, share the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, clicking on the notification bell, not to lose any video that I post freely every week on this channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.